Hey, my name is Tyson Halloway. I am the lead welder at Anderson's Fabrication. On the shop floor, I've been doing it for about 3 years, and then I went to college for welding at South Puget Sound Community College in Olympia, Washington, to get my associates in welding technology. As a welder, it was my job to weld parts together. So we get parts off of our lasers, routers, and press brakes areas, and they give me individual parts and I make them into one big piece. Our parts range from stuff bigger than me, stuff that weighs more than me. Some other companies that we've done for that I can't talk about is we've welded the tow packages for tugboats. They weigh about 1,300 pounds. The metal on them is about 1/2 inch to 3/4 thick. And it takes a lot of heat and a lot of filler metal and about 6 hours to weld. And then, so it ranges from stuff like that down to parts about this big that just need, like you said, just a tack and a tack and a tack, and they're good to go. That's all they want. Really everything that comes through. Stainless steel, mild steel, aluminum. I haven't got the chance to weld titanium yet, but I'd love to. Our days at the shop here for welders start at 8 a.m. and they end at 4:30 p.m. We get a 30-minute lunch, 2 10-minute breaks, and we just come in and you're expected to start going right away. You get your machine set up and then just keep welding. To get my job, what they required at this shop, not all shops require this, is a WABO certification. So a WABO certification is basically the state of Washington recognizing that you can make building safe welds. So that if I weld stuff that other people are going to use or work with, they know that my welds won't fail. And my welds are certified up to 71,000 PSI of pressure. So WABO certification is important because it gives other people someone to point a finger at. What it's really showing is that you are able to weld at a higher level. I'm not saying every WABO certified welder is the best welder out there, but it basically just certifies that, yeah, you know what a real joint looks like, you know how to fill it properly, you know how to do everything correctly so that your welds are the strongest they can possibly be. So when I WABO tested, you get a piece of plate steel and then you weld it together. Obviously you take 2 pieces of plate, you weld it together, and then it has to be at a certain height. So if your weld is taller than the plate is thick, disqualified. To a certain degree, I think it's over, I haven't done it in a while, I think it's an 1/8 inch. If you're taller than an 1/8 inch, you fail. So you have to get it at a certain height. And then after that, you cut out where you welded and the surrounding plate, and then you put that through a press that bends it, and then you check the weld to make sure there was no tears through it, anything like that. You can have up to a 16th tear, I believe. So that's really all I need. I have a certified welder card that I keep on me at all times. If one of my welds fail out in the field, what would happen is someone from WABO, the state, would come in and ask to see my WABO card, see when it was last recertified. Not all shops require that because not all shops do structural type welding. We do a little bit here, not a whole bunch, but other shops might just do, someone might walk in and want a chandelier welded back together, tacked back together. You wouldn't need stuff for that. I mean, unless the chandelier was huge, but like little things, you don't need a WABO certification. You're able to do it without going to college. You just gotta be a pretty prodigal welder to do that, because basically you would walk into a college and say, hey, I want a WABO certification, and they would run you through a test. If you go to school for welding, you will study and do practice tests, and then your teacher would run you through the WABO certification. When you get hired on as a welder, no shop will talk to you until you do a weld test for them. So basically you come in and they say, hey, thanks for coming to the interview. Let me see if you can weld. And if you can weld, then you sit down and actually do the interview process you might be used to at any other job. So they kind of want to see that you're capable. You can either go the route that I went, and that's go to college, community college. It's a 2-year associate's degree. You can get a degree in welding, and so that's 2 years of going through every single welding process. There's about 5 of them, and learning how to do that. Some classes also teach fabrication, cutting, shaping metal to make what you need to actually make to be able to weld it together. Or you can just come into a shop as a weld helper. Weld helpers can do basically everything. When I started, I was Weibo certified, but this shop did not have a welder position open. They had actually just hired somebody to interview before me for the position I was coming to interview for, and they said, hey, we really like you, do you mind being a weld helper? And although I wanted to be a welder really, really bad, I also didn't want to work at Lowe's Home Improvement anymore. So I was like, you know what, I'll come in and be a weld helper, and I know they'll choose me before they hire anybody out, because that's what they told me in the interview. And luckily within 6 months, we had a welder move to go work at Dairy Gold to weld for them. And so I got the position, and 2 years later, I'm in charge of all the welders. So it's been nice. It's nice to work up, but our weld helpers, for us, our company, they basically anything a welder needs metal-wise before they start welding. So we try our hardest to keep our welders with a torch in their hands and working on what they're the best at, which is welding. And then, but that metal obviously needs to get cut down to size first, or bent into shape first, or holes drilled in it so that bolts can go through and we can weld the bolts on. Weld helpers do all of that. You can look for shops that are looking for a weld helper, other names for that, anything, any synonym for helper with weld in front of it, weld assistant, weld, whatever. Or what I did when I was in college is I just went around to shops with my resume and was like, hey, do you need someone to sweep the floors after work? I just want to be around welders. I want this to be my career. I want this to be my job. Can I just come sweep? And so a couple shops let me stay. After school, after college, I was 18, 19, and I would go into a shop after school and I would start sweeping their floors and talk with their welders. And sometimes they might let me practice a little bit or show me a new technique that I didn't know. So there's a lot of ways to get into it. Keep working hard and don't quit if something doesn't come to you right away. If you don't succeed at something, you just need to keep working at it. I had a really hard time with welding when I first started out. I started with a really easy process in high school. It just so happened one of my classes, my woodshop classes, had a welder, and I didn't know what it was, and I asked my teacher to try it, and I gave it a go, and I was okay at it. And I decided, I think I want that to be my career. That was super fun, playing with fire and basically lightning and a sun in your hand. I'd like to melt metal together. So I kept going on that, and then through college I had some hard times too, where processes or different ways to weld wasn't working out very well for me, and I was doing pretty poorly, but just got to keep going on it. I had a lot of people help me, so don't be afraid to ask for help and keep pushing. I definitely take your resume around and don't just fill it out online. And if you are able to fill it out online and send it through like Indeed or any of those job apps, print off with cardstock. I don't mean normal printer paper. I mean like thick, maybe like an eggshell, different color white paper if you're able to get it, so that it stands out from the rest of the pile of resumes. And come in and ask to fill out an application. If they say they don't have a job opening, that's fine. When I was working at my last job at Lowe's when I was younger, I applied to 25 different places to work, and every single place I bring in my resume and drop it off with them. Just need a job. I want to be doing this. My name is Tyson Halloway. I am a welding lead. I have been doing it for 5 years in total, 3 years on the shop and 2 years in college.